Welcome back to the Explanation Pro. Today I'll recap a war drama film called The Great War. Spoilers incoming. The movie starts with Captain William lighting up a cigarette as he has constant traumatic flashbacks about the war. He starts to hyperventilate and cry before he puts on a helmet and goes outside. He then discusses an attack with another soldier named Alan, who plans to send an untrained colored regiment to help them. William tries to oppose this, but Alan is already sure of his decision. Alan then gives him a flask of brandy once William starts to shake again. William then reaches the part of the trench where his group of soldiers is waiting for him. They then start to sing a chant to ease their fear of attacking before William tells them to get ready. He blows the whistle and his men start to charge toward the enemy. William later on crawls on the ground with a pistol in hand as the other soldiers are easily shot down with the enemy's machine gun. William starts to panic as a colored soldier approaches him and asks if he's been shot. He tries to blindly go out into the field, but the soldier punches him and knocks him unconscious. He wakes up and hears another soldier named Sergeant Richardson call for him. He ducks behind a trench and calls for a runner to send a message that they've reached the other side. The runner starts to leave but then gets immediately shot dead. William then tells the other soldiers to get out their grenades. The soldiers then throw their grenades before moving towards the enemy's trench. A group of German soldiers sees them but they easily shoot them down. They then move forward and see the other German soldiers positioned by the forest. The soldiers' backs are turned towards William and his men. They throw a grenade at the Germans before some of his men start to charge toward the enemy. William and a few other soldiers then search the trenches and shoot every enemy soldier they can. They reach a camp in the forest and eliminate all the German soldiers there. The American soldiers start to loot their dead enemy. They then see that one of the Germans has an American flag and they take it back. A corporal approaches William and informs him that all the enemies in the area have been eliminated and that he has sent a runner to send a message to their headquarters. He then lingers and William asks if he wanted to say something else. The corporal starts to say something but backtracks once Richardson approaches them and tells him that they should look for food. The next day, news of their takeover of the German camp reaches their headquarters in France. They also learn that the colored unit has been trapped on a hill near the enemy. General Pershing then orders a retrieval of the unit, despite the unit having black men, as the Germans would soon try to take back the area. William gets assigned to the retrieval of the unit. He tries to decline, stating that his own men don't get along with the colored men. His commanding officer insists as the order came from their top officer. He tells Richardson this, who is also hesitant to follow the order because the war is almost over and also because he knows the other soldiers don't like colored men. William tells him to gather 5 other men before he goes to find another soldier named Private Kane. One of the officers he asks starts to rant about the colored soldiers, saying that the white soldiers are better and smarter. He also suggests that William shouldn't continue to look for the colored unit and get them back. Private Kane then arrives, staring at Williams and the officer. The officer reprimands him for not greeting him and starts to give instructions to him so slowly as if talking to a child. Kane responds in a normal tone and the officer accuses him of talking back. William stops the officer from assaulting Kane and takes him to get armed. Kane tries to thank William for standing up for him, but William says that he just needs Kane to take back the colored unit. During their search, one of William's men named Private Cardini asks why Kane is in front of them and says that he simply doesn't like it. The soldier then starts to rant about the mission. They also start to question William's state, given his constant panicking and flashbacks. They reach a camp where the Red Cross is healing every soldier they could find, including the Germans, much to William's surprise. He tries to tell the medic that she's not safe there, but she dismisses his worries. He starts to ask her about the colored unit and she informs him that some colored men had arrived. Kane recognizes one of the colored soldiers and asks him about the whereabouts of the unit. William's group then huddles and they figure out where exactly the colored unit is. A small argument happens between Kane and Cardini before William tells them that they'll be moving again. They soon reach a house that looks empty and William asks for 2 men to volunteer to scout. No one volunteers at first, so Kane does. One of William's men, Kirby, then follows him and the captain sends them off. Once the 2 charge, gunshots fire from the house. William distracts the enemy before the other soldiers follow after Kane and his companion. Another unit then arrives and helps William's group clear the area. William tells them of their mission and the unit's lieutenant brings them back to their camp. giving them a map and a place to sleep for the night. He also tries to discourage William from continuing the mission, but William ignores this. Pershing then gets informed that the Germans have signed the ceasefire with some conditions. His men also tells him that even though the war is ending in a few days, the French want them to continue pushing until the last minute so that they could get more territory. He then asks for an update about the colored unit, though there's none. The other soldier asks them why he cares so much about the colored men. Pershing then explains that he used to be a member of a colored unit and he values those colored soldiers as good ones. That night, William and Richardson have a drink while the other soldiers, except for Kane, play a game of cards. One of them tries to fix the American flag they took earlier. William then goes to sleep and the soldiers contemplate on letting Kane join their game. Cardini calls Kane a slur and Kirby tells him to stop before going to join Kane. Kirby and Kane then talk about their lives. Kane makes mention of his mother, who he sends letters to even though she can't read. Kirby then says that he was practicing to be a priest before the war. The next morning, they continue their search and find a group of dead enemy soldiers. Kane stops and has a bad feeling as there's no sign of a fight. Some of the other soldiers ignore Kane and start to loot the dead. They then trigger a grenade trap, which ends up killing some of them. Cardini then lashes out at Kane. He then questions William about their effort in retrieving the unit. William then tells them that he experiences flashbacks that disrupt him because he has shell shock and recalls the incident earlier where a colored man saves him while he was panicking in the middle of the field. William then tells them that they can leave if they want to, but he'll keep going, before telling them to bury their dead companions. Kane and Cardini soon reconcile while they dig a grave. Meanwhile, Pershing learns that the colored unit may still be alive and that they have an exact location of where they are. Fighter planes start to shoot each other from above him. William's group continues on and sees a group of German soldiers marching nearby. Then, they start getting shot down and another group of American soldiers appears from the trees. Kane approaches one of the groups and realizes that they're members of the colored unit. One of the soldiers then leads them to where the unit is camping. Kane and William go to the unit's commanding officer, Sergeant Perry. Perry asks if they're reinforcements, but William explains that they were sent to get back the colored unit and evacuate them from the hill. He also tells the sergeant that the war is almost over anyway. Perry tells them that he knows that and shows them a pamphlet from the Germans telling them to surrender. He says that the unit will keep defending the area, despite William insisting that they leave. Perry then asks Kane to step out so that he and William can talk privately. Perry then explains that this is their first real mission as they have been previously assigned to be errand boys around the camp. He says that they will continue to defend the hill even if they'll face extreme aggression from the Germans. William then gets out of the tent and tells Kane that he doesn't have to tag along with him and his men anymore. Kane, however, insists on staying. William then tells his men that they'll stay and help the colored unit defend the area against the Germans. They then formulate a plan to position their machine guns and start to dig some foxholes to hide behind. William and his men go to the south side of the hill, which they identify as the weakest point, and gather to defend there. While digging, Kane gives William a canister of water. One of William's soldiers then hands him the American flag that they were carrying along before going to his position. He then tucks it inside his coat and starts to smoke a cigarette. Kane sits beside him and starts to ponder about the end of the war. William then asks him how it felt like to hit an officer, much to Kane's confusion. William then tells Kane that he knows he was the colored soldier that saved him earlier in the film and then asks him why he did that. Kane simply answers that he understands why William was afraid. Suddenly, Richardson appears and tells William that a German soldier carrying a white flag has approached their camp and wants to talk to him. William arrives back at camp and sees the German captain being searched by one of his men. The German notes that his men are very cautious before asking permission to put his hands down. He then asks for a cigarette from the Americans. They then ask him why he approached the camp. The German explains that since the war is ending the next day, then there's no point in defending the area anymore, and that if they don't surrender, then more German troops are coming to make sure they take back the hill. William then tells them that they won't surrender and will keep their defenses up until the war ends. The German captain then gives them until dawn to give a final answer, in case they change their minds before he's escorted out of their camp. Later on, William is shaving when Kane approaches him and informs him that there's still no enemy nearby. He also says that the Germans will have a heavy attack the next day, and William tells him that he has an idea for that. The colored unit and William's group then get in position to attack. They plan to destroy the enemy's ammunition so they won't easily open fire on the American soldiers. Perry volunteers to lead some of the soldiers inside the enemy lines. Perry and his men manage to overpower some of the German soldiers they encounter and get into their camp. He ends up too injured and tells his men to leave before he detonates a grenade inside the German camp, killing himself in the process. Meanwhile, William and his group return to the southern side of the hill before they hear the explosion. They then get swarmed by the German soldiers and their defense starts. Some soldiers try to get behind them so they split up. A few soldiers encounter a German sniper and get shot in the shoulder. Richardson gets near a German group and gets stabbed in the back. Kane then suggests to William that they fall back. He agrees and begins to order his soldiers to retreat. Richardson manages to return to William although he's gravely injured and eventually dies. The soldier injured by the sniper then volunteers to stay behind and take out the sniper while his companions try to escape. They hesitate to leave him behind at first but eventually agree. The soldier manages to shoot the sniper dead before he succumbs to his injuries. While they're retreating, William gets shot. Meanwhile, Pershing gets informed that the Germans are putting up a fight against their soldiers. He then gives out an order to continue the defense until 11 in the morning, which is the time that the war will officially end. William and Kane reunite with the other soldiers on the southern side. Kane takes the flag and hoists it up on a stick while William tells the men to fix bayonets and that they'll charge down the hill. They manage to win over the German soldiers and Kane waves the flag. They then find out about William's injury as he sits down dying. Kane finds a letter in William's bag and he asks Kane to read it. The movie ends as Kane reads the letter, which is from William's dead wife, just as William dies. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.